Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
A formless field of benefaction, wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction, wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction, wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. As I'm sure you all have noticed, I have taken the helm of being the host for these meetings. So things are going to, I'll just note that change. I also believe that this is going to be, let me get my camera back on now that I've turned around. I also believe that this is going to probably be one of the last recorded classes for now. We've got this really big body of every step has probably been covered at this point. I think some of my opinions have changed from some of the original recordings. So what we're going to focus on instead of asking people to, if you find, 7 references to a step, use the most recent one, instead of asking them to do that, because I can't guarantee the most recent is the highest quality either. It might have been a short answer when one was more complete 2 months prior. We're going to work. It's going to be a large effort, may take some time. Y'all may all finish by the time this is done, but focus on trying to get every step as its own video so that we can have, so it's not liable based on my capability on a given day, I guess is a nice way of putting it. So that should be more, and it's also, I think, respectful of Maria's time because she's still volunteering to do a lot of that editing. And she's finished sewing her Rakusu, so I want to be respectful of her engagement at this time. So that's that. So today I have another, it's 2 weeks in a row, we have another robe finishing ceremony. Shelley has finished her Rakusu, and so we're gonna go through with that. Are you still looking forward to doing this, Shelley? Great. So yeah, and Shelley, would you prefer we do that at the beginning of class so that you can excuse yourself when you're comfortable?
I would, if that's okay. And I do have
Absolutely.
a couple of other questions for other sewers who might like to join.
Okay. Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, well, MarLa and I sit regularly with Awakening together, and we've been sharing our sewing journey with them a little bit. I think there's interest there, and I just wondered if there's an opportunity for them. Many of them have already started. Could they join this sewing class mid run?
Probably so. Who is their current sewing teacher?
I think they were sewing with Anne before, weren't they, MarLa?
You're muted.
At the very, very beginning, Ann Lipscomb, but now they're with Ann Johnson with Open Door.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what I'd want to do, I love the idea. I want to connect with Ann Johnson and make sure that she's okay with it. If we have different styles, I think it's important that one person can have sort of the final say, so they don't come to Anne and say, well, John said to do X, Y, and Z, and she doesn't know how to teach that step because she teaches it differently. It's hard to reorient someone who's gone off track with a different process than but I like the idea. I really would like to support that if possible.
Well, and I haven't talked to them. I'm hoping MarLa and I are going to have some conversation with them over the coming weeks. I just want to know if it was a possibility before we did that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't think I have Ann Johnson's information, so if either of y'all could send it to me to start that conversation.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. You said you had a couple of questions. Was that the one?
Yeah, they were both related. That's good. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. So, oh yes, Sue.
John, is it necessary to have your Rakasu present to do the completion ceremony? Because I did complete mine, and as I think I told you in the email, I'd sent it off so for Flint to.
That's right. Yeah. Did you? I forget. You said you had not yet finished the envelope at the time. Have you finished the envelope now?
No, I haven't. I'm just marking it up today,
Okay.
so I haven't sewn it yet.
Generally, the completion ceremony is the kind of it's the way that the whole group bows out that this participant is no longer going to be sewing with us.
Right.
So if you're going to be, yeah, so I'll be excited to do it. And yes, we can, I think normally you probably would want it in person, but since we're all remote anyways,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
So I can come back when I come back, and I'm just away a lot at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Before we start the ceremony, John, I was wondering about it. Would putting it on be part of this? Because I really would enjoy, personally, I would enjoy seeing the person put it on themselves. But normally I think the teacher would put it on them. Is that correct? I don't remember.
Traditionally, it stays in the envelope, but I think the ceremony feels a little short online. So I actually was emailing with Shelley, and I think that is what we're going to do today. Show both the process. So I think one thing I failed, that could have been useful for previous completing people is to show them how to fold and pack the Rakusu in the envelope, and then how to remove it and wear it. And these are things that your preceptor could override me on, absolutely. But I think at least getting it in the Rakasu the first time, that's an important step. And then how to get it out. So we will have a chance to see Shelley wear hers today, and then moving forward, if it feels right, if it feels like it helps the ceremony.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Shelley, let me. Okay, so I do like setting the tone, kind of just giving the narrative still of how this goes in person, because I think that is a really beautiful part of Zen ceremony, is the incensing and the a new stick of incense, a new bowing in. So we would be standing together, you and I, at the altar. I would be facing the altar in front of it, and you would be just to my right, facing towards me. I would do the traditional incensing, and then I would place the incense. I would take your Rakusu, which I've had this whole time, and with the envelope fold facing me, I will incense it once, twice, 3 times. And then I will turn to you and I will say, Shelley, using a pattern created by the Buddha and Ananda, you have sewn Buddha's robe. Here I am blinking. I'll go with my heart. Your timely questions, your astute observations and care have been very helpful both to me and to this class. You've brought a lot of important points to bear, and that are now in our video record. And for that, I'm very grateful. When you receive this Rakusu and your precepts from your teacher, these 2 things will guide and protect you always. It's been an honor helping you with this practice and being with you for this journey. At this time, I would wait for you to bow to me, hand to you, or turn the Rakusu, envelope facing you, and hand the Rakusu to you. And then I would bow to you. And ordinarily that would be it. That would be the end of our ceremony. but I do want to show, so do you have the two pieces separate? Oh, you already got it in. Wow. Okay, so do you want to put it on first?
Sure. I don't know how to put it on proper either.
So for today, since you're just getting it, really there's not actually that much to it. There is, if you're sitting in practice, there is a convention of the direction that the envelope, the fold faces when you place it on your head. Then you do the chant of the robe. For today, let's go ahead and skip that because it's the teacher hasn't marked it, hasn't given it to you in Jukai yet. So let's consider this just like a try on and show off phase. So you can just simply place the neckband over your neck. Yeah, looks right. Perfect. Looks great. So to remove a Rakusu, so that to place it back in the envelope. So your dominant hand is always the hand that is going to be touching the straps, both when removing and placing the Rakusu. So take your dominant hand and pinch at the top of the neck piece. Yeah, okay. Pinch around the middle roughly. Once you've got kind of it'll learn the shape of this, and you'll actually be able to feel like a little divot, or at least in mine, I can. And then with your other hand, let me stand up slightly, take your non-dominant hand, thumb and middle finger behind, and index finger in front. And you're going to lift the Rakusu, and you'll notice that it wants to fold, or maybe over time, it will want to fold, yeah, exactly, in half. So fold it in half towards your dominant hand so that so this is my dominant hand on my right side. So looking down at it, I see the silk facing towards my non-dominant hand, the silk half or silk fold. And that is the correct orientation. You will then carefully begin folding, laying the straps. So let me actually put on my other camera. This will take just a moment. I haven't gotten this set up just yet. Okay, so non-dominant side, dominant side. So you're going to begin laying the straps across your Rakusu. With my very long straps, I go at an angle. Many folks can just go straight across, but you will need a little bit of space for your neck piece. So some angle is required. And you're just going to gently allow the Rakusu or the strap to kind of fall where it falls. Over time, you will sort of develop almost creased folds where it's just learned that that's the way it sits. But that can always be adjusted, and some folks even go so far as to intentionally try to prevent buildup of that memory in the fabric. So that is the basics of how you fold it. This is really something that you'll have to just feel out. The general guideline is you should be able to securely hold the neck piece with your dominant hand. That's the only critical takeaway on this process. You just need to be able to hold this whole thing securely with your dominant hand. And that is because that is the hand that guides it in and out of its envelope. I'm going to be sewing a new envelope soon so we can get that on video, but also because mine's a little small for my long straps. But you can see I'm using my dominant hand to guide it in. And that is putting it in. Taking it out is simply the reverse. I won't do the whole thing, but you will use your dominant hand to manage the neck piece to fully remove it. And most people at this time, I don't think there's any strict tradition about this, but most people choose to fold and move their envelope for practice wherever they're going to put it at this time, then put on the Rakusu. Some do wait until the Rakusu is on to finish placing their envelope. But those are the broad strokes of it. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Well, wonderful. You've really done something that a lot of people don't choose to do. And I think it's really special that you've chosen to do it. So as usual, go ahead and give you the opportunity to kind of talk about what this has been for you. Let me go ahead and remove spotlight. I also realized last time I didn't give the group the opportunity to kind of ask any questions about your experience. How do I spotlight myself? Okay, so I'd like to do that as well. I want to both give you a moment to share and then any questions or celebration from the group.
I think that the thing that was most surprising for me about the sewing, because I wasn't really sure why I was called to sew. I have a lot going on in my world, and sewing was an extra piece, but the sewing so helped me to cultivate a quality of attention that was attentive but not heavy and not unfocused. So finding that spot between unfocused and too focused so that I could hold things more lightly has been life-changing.
Would anyone from the group like to?
As Shelley's friend of many, many years, I just want to say that I've always loved and respected you, and watching you come in and do this and in such a confident and calm way, and your help for me has been priceless, and you inspired me, and my respect and reverence for you has gone through the roof. Thank you for everything, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Shelley, we don't know each other very well, but just really pretty much in this class. And there's something about the way that you are with us that's so quiet, but you use the word focused, and but also there's a generosity in the way you communicate that I really appreciate, and kind of a steady presence, and I really, really appreciate it. And congratulations. It's lovely to be with you through this.
Yeah, Shelley, congratulations. I have joy in my heart hearing you, and there's a special truthfulness inside of you that you share so steadily that it's always really touching. So thank you so much.
Shelley, I don't know you, and I appreciate your quietness as I struggle with my own. But I just really loved what you were saying about your process there. That was so insightful and so just beautiful. So congratulations on your completion, but also on that process that you've done, that you've trodden steadily with that one. And thank you.
Thank you all. I'm going to miss you terribly, I think.
If you would like to exchange any contact information, I'm sure that folks would be happy to do that. Well, thank you, Shelley. This isn't goodbye. This is congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was nice. Let me put my Rakasu back on.
I'm just going to go ahead and sign out. Okay. Can you put your Rakasu back on, John, and I'll just bow out to everybody?
Sure. Oh, yeah, let's do that. And just since you're still here, I'm actually glad that you didn't leave. There is one thing I can mention now. When putting a Rakasu back on within the same period of practice, as though you've gone to the bathroom or had a bite to eat, you will take the pine needle stitch as it would face outward from your neck. So it's, can just go straight over, and you just tap it to your forehead before you place it back on. Okay. Bow out. Go ahead. Let's do both, alter and each other. Strangely sad. It's like an empty nest feeling, and I don't even have kids, so I don't really know what that feels like. But this times 100 maybe. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do check-ins. Would anyone like to volunteer to describe where you're at? Any questions you have?
May I continue where I left off the last time, which was where I had about an inch on this row where I ran out of thread. And so I had a tail, and Rosemarie and I sewed yesterday, and she helped me figure out how to hide that tail by doing the 3 stitches back and then pulling it in. And now I'm not sure about how to take the new thread and start the invisible stitch without the non-knot on the rest of it, and to go around the corner. So I think I understand logically how to do it, but I don't know if it's right.
Okay. Would you like me to quickly demonstrate it?
Yes, please. And
Spotlight. Maria just knew where all of these different options are on the screen, and I feel like I'm fishing every time. So because we're doing the knotless start, I'm going to go ahead and not do a knot because, well, knotless. Let's use what feels comfortable to me today. I'm going to use this line of stitches, so perhaps analogous to yours, where you've just finished up a row of stitches one way or another, and you're beginning a new stitch next to it. So with the knotless knot, we always begin by going in. So you always come out of the thread at the top. If you're right-handed, you always come out at the top, and you always go in through the bottom. And because we want to kind of skip a step that we'll come back to much later, I'm going to go ahead and let me see if I can get the zoom better. Okay. So we're going to go in where that stitch should end, and we're going to leave it without a stitch. So it might look funny if you had tried it on your own and it felt, strange. It might be because you had this gap here where we're going to come back and finish a stitch later. But this is where you go in and then come up where you want your next stitch, and that's when you leave, 1.5 or 2 needle lengths of thread. And then from there, you can continue stitching as normal, leaving that tail to come back to do the knotless finish, or the knotless, the last step of the knotless start, rather. Is this clear?
yes, it is, except for the end is not. The end process is still not clear.
On this start, for starting this knot, you're talking about how to
how to go
tuck this?
back in and fill the gap.
Sure. So let's pretend it is the mirror or the reverse of the final, the ending, the knotless finish. The knotless finish that you did with Rosemarie. It's like that, except instead of going in on the bottom right, you're going to go in at the top left. So basically you just go in where the stitch would normally come out, and then do the tunneling, kind of trying to stay inside of the stitch. And then you come up 3 stitches out, and you should have you have that stitch there. That is complete. And then last but not least, focus.
So I don't go back and fill in that gap?
Well, the gap filled itself. So that's what happened when let me pull it real quick. I can re-demonstrate. I did that many, I think. So I want to pull this thread real quick. So see how there was that gap? When I haven't gotten my lamp out. I'm feeling it right now. Okay. So the gap gets closed when you go in at the top left here to finish this stitch. Do the tunneling and then come out on that far side and pull it tight. The gap is closed, you can see, but there's now a stitch there. Does that make sense?
So it's the tail that's going. It's not the rest of the thread.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this end you would have already tucked this at the end. You would have done the mirror of this to end your stitch. So I should have explained that. Yes, you're using the tail that you left at the very beginning to close the gap.
Okay, got it. So I did an unnecessary step in doing the other one to hide the other one, but now I'm doing the other kind of hidden knot.
No, I think everything is, I don't think
Yeah.
you wasted anything.
Yeah, it was just a different process. So, okay, I get it now. Thank
Great.
you.
Of course. Would anyone like to check in? I don't know. I won't. Questions? Yeah, Sue.
I don't have questions at this particular point, but I've just started my envelope and just measuring that out. So that's where I've got to.
Great.
So far, so good.
Good. And you came, just so I'm clear and refreshed on your status, you received the blue fabric larger than you needed, or cutting it down to size.
Yes.
And then have you been able to source the silk material for the lining?
Yes.
Wonderful. Do you know what type of silk you chose? I'm looking to get, like, is charmeuse too formless? Is taffeta too stiff? I'm trying to kind of figure out.
I can't remember what sort it is because I don't think I ever knew. Except it feels quite significant that it's some silk I bought when I was on pilgrimage to India
Wow.
several years ago now, and I've still got the silk that I bought there. So it was really good to be using that.
Yeah, full circle.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, how important.
And it was really important because it was also significant in, there was one particular point because I was part of another approach then. I belonged to a different approach, but I won't take too long, but one of the most significant parts of that whole pilgrimage for me was just walking step by step along this particular path just outside Bodh Gaya, and it was just that moment to be stepping along, and the mindfulness and awareness of the step and the connection of that. And I bought this material that particular day as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was all significant.
Wow.
Thank you.
Great. Yes, of course. Anyone else like to? Sophie?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. The stage I'm in is to I had to resew those because the line behind wasn't good enough, and I had to redo it at least 3 times. I don't, for some reason I can't move away from that line in the back, so it's always too close, and I wonder if it's still too close this time.
No, I think because we tested last time that check of can you fold it under and then get it to get close to that line, I think you're okay.
Okay. And so I've been folding a few pieces like that, so to be able to start And if I remember well, I put the folded line on top of the line on the B piece. Is that right?
As close as you can, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So I haven't been able to move more forward than that, but that's where I am.
That's great.
Thank you.
And are you going to choose to press? I see. It looks like you're in a different location.
I am. I'm at home now, and I haven't pressed it though. But so, do you think it's better if I press it?
It's.
Easier?
It might be easier. Yeah, it might help you in the process. And I think the place you're most likely to get benefit is. Let me show it. I think you're more likely to get this folded edge straight. So no, like this folded edge won't be, wobbly
Yeah.
if you are able to do the pressing, because pressing with your fingers, unless you're like really up close and squinting at it, which is possible, I think it's just remove some opportunity for error. I do believe it is optional, but it could help.
Okay. So would it be a problem if I do that now as we're on the call, or?
That'd be
No.
fine.
Okay.
You mean to stand up and go and
Yeah.
do it? Yes, absolutely. If you need water, if you need a bathroom break, you can always.
Okay, I'll do that then. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, John.
Rosemarie, hello.
Yeah, so good. So my squares are coming along. I actually basted two. This one's pretty good. But
Yeah,
this
it looks good.
one I'm realizing is not exactly square. So I realize I can, I've got some seam allowance on the back that I can adjust it a little bit to make it more square. So yeah, I think I should be they're all pinned together. So I think I can finish basting them today and then
Great,
put them on.
great. That's
So,
exciting.
yes, it is. It is. Little nervous about the straps. I'll get to that when I come to it.
The tricky little squares are called tricky for a reason. If you can do this, you can do the whole thing.
Okay. Oh, I do have a question about the envelope lining.
Yes.
So I noticed that some people have prints, and so is there some guidance on the solid color versus prints and also on the fabric itself? Besides the slidiness of it, I know that that's something that's important.
Their prints are perfectly acceptable. Let me see if it's posted on the website. Peg used to have there are different sources will say different things. Some will say that certain colors are used only for the dead. Some, traditionally in Buddhism, but like there is such a thing as a teacher's transition rakusu that they wear in their final days and then are buried in. But I don't think there's a traditional color for the envelope. And I'm not actually sure an envelope is even sewn for that. I'm scanning the website to see if she published any thoughts on this. I don't think she did. No, she just says Thai silks to go
Okay.
to. So go with your heart.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. I've considered this a lot. Does gold brocade, however that's pronounced, does that indicate ostentatiousness or does that indicate pride in your Buddhist practice? All of these different ways that your selection of print and appearance and fineness of material, can reflect different things to different people. But what does it reflect in you? So maybe that's the question that you can work with on this. And if you're I once gave someone guidance on picking a thread color. Line all the thread colors that you want to pick from. This was in person, so they had the actual spool. Line them all up in terms of your preference. And then after they had done so, I came back, choose 1, 3, or below. So they couldn't pick the top 2 so that there was no, less material attachment. And I joked and I said, no, you can pick the top one if you want, but how would you feel if you chose one that you are less attached to, and they ended up going with one about 5 down. So there's that thought too, of
Yeah.
attachment and all that.
I like it. Thanks. Thanks.
Of course.
So John, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Is that good enough like this?
That looks good. Yeah. Can
Looks
you,
good.
well, can you rotate it a bit? So it's in this, just a little less. So it's in the,
Okay.
just so
Yeah.
there's got the light.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's because there's more of a, like a loop of fabric, but is that one side? Yeah, yeah. Will you
There.
measure it? Will you measure that side and see if it is the same length as on the other side? So the distance from, is that clear what I'm suggesting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very clear.
I would say for this, you'd want it within, oh, maybe 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters. No, pretty close.
Okay.
You can use the ruler to press it flat.
Yeah.
And if you can't press it flat for some reason, that might mean that your fold is in the correct place. If you folded it and pressed it,
Yeah.
but your pins are too far one way or the other.
Yeah.
So you just need to adjust the pin in that case.
I think
But
it's
it may just
okay.
be, okay,
Yeah.
then it was just an optical illusion.
Just
Then yes,
one, maybe 1 millimeter wider.
okay, yeah, that's fine. It looks,
Okay. Um,
and that was the first you've done of that, or?
yeah.
is
So
that-
I've done them all. So
Okay.
should I show you?
Yeah, yeah, if you'd like.
Um,
Hmm.
Probably the way I put the pins in that is creating that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is that the side that if you're holding it,
Yeah.
do you think that will be the side you start on or the side that you finish on?
I'll be starting on, if I'm starting the same way that I did the other line,
Yes.
I'll start here. Yeah. There.
Yeah. With the needles pointing away from
Yeah.
you, or
Yeah.
the pins. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that would probably be easier to work with. I think it would be harder to work with it the way that you've pinned it if you started on the other side.
Yeah.
Because if there is a slant, you can't, it's getting worse as you're going, whereas now you can focus on not introducing the slant at the start.
John, could I just check something with you, please?
Yes.
Sorry, were you writing something down there?
I mean, yes, but
I didn't want to interrupt you.
no,
Sorry.
it's fine.
So can I just check with you? I'm about to start sewing the seam on the envelope, and it said sew the entire line. Does that mean all 4 edges or just straight across?
Straight across, including the seam allowances.
Yes.
So don't stop before the final.
Yeah.
The both ends get all the way to the end.
Okay, so I don't do the whole lot.
All 4. No, you just do those 2 to begin.
Okay, right.
Because you're talking about A to D and A to B.
Yeah. It's not very clear at corner A. You see, it said using the back stitch, sew 1 to 2 millimeters outside the chalk lines towards the edge of the fabric. Sew the entire line from one edge of the fabric to the other. So it doesn't say which one I sew. I can't. Oh, wait a minute.
You'll be doing both. Because right now we're only talking about the second sentence of that paragraph.
Yeah.
Pin line to line on lines A through B and A through D.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the scope of this paragraph.
I see. Yeah, I've pinned the whole square. So shall I unpin it then?
Yeah, go ahead and unpin, because if you remember that, or as you noticed, I'm sure the dimensions for the lining and the outer fabric are different. And that's on purpose. And at this point, you want A and D. A is the flat corner.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the one that's most critical, that you have that extra blue fabric wrapping all the way around, so there's no lining visible from the outside. So go ahead and just unpin the C to B and C to D sides.
Okay.
Is that, and see if that yeah, that should be fine. And your current, your A to D line on both your lining and your outer fabric, the crosshairs match on both layers. So the crosshair for the lining and the crosshair for the is matched. Yeah, that's the key point. So I think if you just unpin the lines going towards the C corner, then you can proceed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for checking.
John?
Yes.
Hi. Just thinking ahead to attaching the squares, which I'll probably be doing hopefully on my own this week. I'm looking at the photograph on page 9 at the bottom, and what is it's like a very small, placing them is they don't really say, but you can see in the photograph how to place it on the corner.
Mhm.
And then you had suggested a direction of a starting place from
Yes.
the upper right, in the photograph anyway, the upper right down. And would it be from the lower, let's see, the upper right down, and then just completely continue from there?
Yes. So you would go down to the bottom right, and then from bottom right to bottom left
Bottom
would be the
left and
second.
around. And then the knots, what are we doing with knots for that?
This would be the knotless start and
The
knotless
knotless
finish.
start and the knotless finish. Okay.
But you can these don't need to be the reinforced kind, just the bog standard. So above that photo, there's a paragraph. And
Mhm.
above that, 2 lines above that, it says the squares overlap 5 millimeters onto the frame. So that is
Oh, there we go. Yes.
the measurement.
Okay.
And as it says, mark lines on frame with chalk, so they can be easily placed. I do recommend you do that step. So what I will do when I do this is spotlight. I would simply take a ruler and mark 0.5 centimeter line there and a 0.5 centimeter line there. You don't need to do it here because that's why you're doing these 2 edges first. These are going to act as sort of your sources of truth. They're going to be register marks of to use technical terms. Yeah, if you focus on lining these 2 up and you have made sure that your squares are actually square while you're basting them, then these edges will end up correct because these 2 edges are correct.
So it's the, in looking at the photograph, it's the edge of the upper right and the edge of the lower left, is that right? Or no? The edge of the upper right and the lower right? Looking at the photograph?
The rightmost edge and the bottommost edge, you mean?
Yeah, which,
The,
yeah. I'm squaring it on, really on the inner line of the frame, is that correct?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's helpful, yeah. That's my perpendicular right there.
Right. There is a chance that it might be helpful to have a square handy, just so that you don't get thrown off. One of my corners here is a good example. Let me see if I can see which one it was. One of the corners didn't end up perfectly square. It was a little acute, just a tiny bit acute. So you can actually see what was 0.5 millimeters here was actually a little bit more here. That's maybe 0.7. So,
Got it.
and that's okay. I think if this line is not square, you can maybe go to the outer edge or to this line here to choose how to, or just eyeball it. I mean,
Right, right.
as I've often said, if people are squinting and scrutinizing your Rakusu that much, that's their practice edge, not yours.
I have to say, I don't have that document that you all refer to, and it sounds really helpful.
Oh.
So
Oh
maybe,
no.
maybe I received it somewhere, but didn't use
I don't.
it.
I've definitely never sent it to you. It's been referenced in past videos and maybe included in some of Maria's emails, but
Okay.
let me make sure that you get it here today. It is on the Appamata website, so I'm going to link it. Okay, that is the direct link to the document on the site. But I do want to point out, if you're on, let me also send this link then. So this link has a series of links in the first group of links titled instructions.
Okay.
There's the Rakusu instructions, which is the one I just sent you. But this is where you'll also get the Rakusu envelope instructions, which are closer to the bottom.
I've sewn this first part, so on the second line, do you think that's enough? Good enough?
Yes, that looks good. And that looks much
flatter.
it looks like the yeah. So I think starting on that side with the little arch totally resolved any concern there. That looks great.
Thank you.
We will have normal class next week. And then I will be in session on the 3rd. So no class on the 3rd. I will remind y'all next week and also by email around then to remind y'all that there will be no class. Okay, so let's go ahead and bow out then. Or any other last minute or administrative kind of, okay. One to the altar and one to each other. It's good to see you all. And see you all again, or see some of y'all again next week.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.